I like to just help everybody out the best I can.
He came into the world armed with a great big smile and an attitude to match.
There's such a genuineness about it that you just can't pretend to be like Jimmy. You can't pretend to be that good. He was that good.
He came into the world with a servant spirit and a giving heart.
He was the most giving human being I've ever run into. I've never seen anybody give more of himself and expect less back.
Like any man, Jimmy Gherkin had his flaws.
March it down, Dan! March it down!
But only on the outside. Only to those who couldn't see past the obvious impairments he was born with.
When Jimmy first came to East, and he was probably 19 years old, and of course, you know, he was a little bit different. One kid came up to him and says, you know, Jimmy, you walk funny. You walk just like a duck. And Jimmy turned around and says, that's okay, I'll still be your friend.
That day, that boy learned a valuable lesson.
He taught us how to love, he taught us how to smile, and he taught us how to be happy. And boy, what's better than that as a human being?
A lesson Jimmy taught in East Grand Rapids for more than 30 years. He was never a member of the East faculty, but there are those who say the kids are in debt for what he taught them.
No matter what cards you're dealt, that you can aspire to be the greatest thing imaginable.
To George Barczewski, Jimmy was the greatest friend imaginable. In 1993, Barr suffered a heart attack in the season opener. When he came to the next morning, Jimmy was at his bedside. He'd been there since 6:30.
He said, I'm going to be with you all day today. I said, no, Jimmy, you can go home. No, we'll watch the football games. He knew innately that, gee, maybe Barr needs some help. I'm going to stay with him.
Jimmy was always there. Games, plays, concerts. If it was an East Grand Rapids event, Jimmy was there.
Hit him hard!
That's why it was such a shock when he was gone. Memorials like the one given Jimmy are usually reserved for presidents, not people nicknamed Kabuki, but thousands of people came to mourn. In eulogies, Jimmy was called the spirit of East Grand Rapids.
And he was the greatest guy I've ever met. And I'm going to miss him terribly.
He was called a friend. Principal Pat Quina called him a teacher of the highest calling, a teacher of life.
He simply taught by example, by the way he lived his wonderful life. He smiled, and we smiled. He loved, and we loved him back. Thank you, teacher. Thank you, Mr. Kabuki. Class dismissed.
At the end, you said class dismissed. Can it ever be reopened again? French philosopher Jean de La Fontaine once wrote, "On the wings of time, grief flies away." Time does heal wounds, but it can also make people forget. And in Jimmy's case, that was not an option.
Our goal was to keep that spirit going on, even though it's not like having them. It's still, if we can keep that spirit go on, then we're helping the kids that are coming up in the future.
It would have been a shame if this class would have been completely dismissed. So as the winter turned to spring, and spring to summer, work was being done, and plans were being finalized to bring the essence of Kabuki back to life. To bring the teacher back to the students, to ensure his lesson would live on for generations.
Why can't we all just see the way through Jimmy's eyes, see things from his perspective, which was always the good in everybody, the positive in everything.
Jimmy's new class was dedicated last week, just before his beloved Pioneers kicked off their first season without him.
This is going to be very, very emotional tonight. I'll tell you what, that's all right.
He won't be on the sidelines anymore, but he won't be far away either. His bronze statue is sitting in the new courtyard, built in his honor.
You know who would enjoy this more than anything?
His name, appropriately enough, embroidered on their uniforms, just above the heart.
Boys, everybody take the right hand, put it right across that patch that says Jimmy. Because he only knows one brand of football, boys, and that is the East Grand Rapids Pioneer Way. Let's go, boys!
Oh, did they ever go. After high-fiving his statue on the way into the stadium, the Pioneers beat Caledonia 49-0. Jimmy would have been proud. But the win on the field paled in comparison to the win this community feels it scored for future generations.
This is going to be a statement. We had this jewel here, and now we're going to let it linger and linger and linger.
I like to just help everybody out the best I can.